It was a typical Saturday afternoon when I decided to explore the attic of my family's old Victorian house. My parents had recently passed away, leaving me the estate and all its secrets. The attic was a treasure trove of forgotten memories, old trunks, dusty photographs, and boxes filled with mysterious artifacts. As I rummaged through a stack of old boxes, I stumbled upon a dusty cassette player and a single tape labeled "Do Not Play." The label was scribbled in red ink, and it seemed out of place among the other neatly labeled boxes. Curiosity got the better of me. I inserted the tape into the player and pressed play. At first, there was only static, a hissing sound that seemed to fill the room. Then a faint voice began to whisper. It was soft and raspy, speaking in a language I couldn't understand. The words were indistinguishable, but the tone was unmistakable. Sadness and longing mixed with a hint of warning. I fast-forwarded the tape, hoping to find something more coherent, but the voice persisted, its tone changing from sorrow to anger. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, until they became a cacophony of sound that filled the attic. Suddenly, the tape stopped. The silence was abrupt, leaving me feeling disoriented. I decided to investigate further. Maybe there was a story behind this mysterious tape. I searched the attic for any clues, but found nothing. Frustrated, I left the tape and player on an old trunk, intending to look into it later. That night, I couldn't sleep. The whispers from the tape lingered in my mind, haunting me. I kept thinking about the voice and what it might be trying to say. The next morning, I woke up to an eerie feeling. The house seemed quieter than usual, as if it was holding its breath. I went back to the attic, determined to uncover the secrets of the tape. As I approached the trunk, I noticed something odd. The tape was still in the player, but it was rewound to the beginning. I hadn't touched it since the previous day. A shiver ran down my spine. I hesitated for a moment before pressing play again. This time, the voice was different. It spoke in English, its words clear and chilling. "Get out while you still can." I spun around, expecting to see someone behind me, but I was alone. The voice seemed to come from all directions at once, echoing off the attic walls. I tried to shake off the feeling of unease, telling myself it was just my imagination. But as I listened to the tape again, I realized that the voice was changing. It was adapting, speaking directly to me. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They filled the attic, spilling down into the rest of the house. I felt like I was being surrounded, trapped by an unseen force. Suddenly, the lights in the attic began to flicker. The air grew colder and I could see my breath. The voice on the tape was screaming now, its words indistinguishable, but its intent clear. It wanted me to leave. I grabbed the tape and player, deciding to get out of there. But as I turned to leave, I saw something that made my blood run cold. On the wall, in letters that seemed to be written in frost, was a message. "You should have listened." I ran out of the attic, not stopping until I was outside, gasping for air. The house seemed to loom over me, its windows like empty eyes staring back. I never went back to that attic. I left the house, selling it to a new family who seemed oblivious to its dark history. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear the whispers. They're faint now, but unmistakable, a reminder of the secrets I uncovered in that old Victorian house. And I wonder, did I really escape the curse of the lost tape, or did I just bring it with me? In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the feeling that the tape was still with me. I began to research the history of the house, looking for any clues that might explain the mysterious voice. I spoke to old neighbors who told me stories about the family that lived there before my parents. They spoke of a son who disappeared mysteriously and a mother who went mad with grief. I knew I needed to find more information. I visited the local library and started reading old newspapers, searching for any mention of the disappearance. And it was there that I found an article that made my blood run cold. It was about a boy named James who disappeared in 1985. The police never found his body, but there were rumors that he had been seen in different parts of the city, always accompanied by a shadowy figure. The article mentioned an audio tape that James had left behind, with mysterious messages that no one could decipher. I knew that this tape was the same one I had found. I became determined to learn more about James and his family. I went back to the neighbors, this time with more questions. They told me that James was a lonely boy who spent hours in his room recording audio tapes. He was trying to capture something, one of the neighbors said, something that no one else could hear. I started to wonder if James had really captured something paranormal on that tape. And if so, what was it? I decided to investigate further. I bought recording equipment and started capturing sounds in different parts of the house, hoping to catch something abnormal. And then, one night, I heard it. It was a whisper, almost imperceptible, but definitely there. I recorded it and played it back several times, trying to understand what it was saying, but it wasn't a voice. It was more like a call. I knew I needed to go deeper. I started reading about paranormal phenomena, looking for explanations for what I was experiencing. And it was then that I discovered a theory that made me question everything. The idea that certain places can be portals to other worlds or dimensions. I wondered if the house could be one of those places, and if James's tape was more than just a recording, if it was a key to something bigger. Curiosity consumed me. I knew I needed to go back to the house, even though I knew it was a terrible idea. And then, one night, I returned. The house was dark and silent, but I could feel that something was waiting for me. I entered James's room, where I found the original tape. I put it in the player and pressed play. The voice began to speak again, but this time it was different. It was like it was calling me to something. I followed the sound to the basement, where I found a secret door that I had never seen before. It was locked, but I knew I needed to open it. I used a key I found in one of the rooms, and the door creaked open. On the other side, there was a dark corridor that seemed to stretch forever. I knew I needed to move forward, and then I heard the call again. It was louder now, more insistent. I knew I needed to follow it, even though I knew it was a terrible idea. I walked down the corridor, the darkness enveloping me like a blanket, and then I saw a shadowy figure standing at the end of the corridor. It was waiting for me. I knew it was the end. The tape had led me there, and now I was trapped. The figure began to approach, and I felt the air escape from my lungs. And then everything went black. Epilogue: I was never seen again. The house was sold to a new family who never knew what had happened there. But sometimes when the night is silent, they hear a whisper that seems to come from nowhere. They know it's just the wind, but deep down, they're afraid it might be something more, something that's still there, waiting. And I'm trapped in the corridor, following the call forever. The tape is still playing, and I'm still listening. Or maybe I'm just imagining it. But one thing is certain. The tape changed everything, and now I'm part of it.